Hey, hey, hey. It is Monday, and I am so glad that you're here with me. Yesterday, I went to the protest concerning Ralph Yarl. And if you know or understand what happened here in Kansas City, a young boy, 16 years old to be exact, went to a home to pick up his siblings. And he believed the address was that his siblings were at a home on Northeast 115th Terrace, but he went to a home on 100 and Northeast 115th Street. And if you've ever lived on a street where there was also a terrace, on a street where there was also an avenue, um, you know that people get the address wrong. And one of the first things that happened when I got to the protest was that a white man who looked like he was in his late 20s, early 30s went zooming past me and he screamed, Trump 2024. Okay. And then one of the next things that happened was that there was a resident across the street from where the young Ralph was shot, and he was sitting on his lawn, um, legs crossed, and he was really concerned about his grass. So why does that bring me here to you on a Monday when I normally wouldn't be here with you? One of the primary things that a person I met there kept saying to me was, "Nicole, I know you're on this empathy revolution, and I don't know if I can be empathetic this week." And interestingly enough, I listened to her say it 2 or 3 times, and I resisted the urge to spend any time trying to clarify, because both of us, while out at the protest with hundreds of other people, were thinking about the times when we had gone to a wrong address or actually gone to a right address, and thinking about how we could have been in Yarl's position. You see, when Khalid moved back to Kansas City, one of the first things he did with his neighbors was go to their doors to introduce himself. Um, he could have ended up shot twice. I think about when he was 16 years old and he was trying to sell popcorn or trash bags or candies for his school, either for basketball or football or any number of things. He could have been shot twice. The woman I had met there, her name is Sharika Barnes. She was just running for a school board at Park Hill School District, and she was going door to door campaigning, and she could have been shot twice. That, my dears, is empathy. That is putting yourself in the shoes of another person and trying to imagine what it would be like to be them. And too often, these kinds of things happen, and they happen over and over and over again. And we develop what is called psychic numbing. The third thing that happened was someone said, I wonder what would have happened if the shooter were not white. And honestly, I think that is a valid question, and let me tell you why. Because if you ask that question, go ahead, and empathy requires you to play it out. And if you play out the answers to that question and imagine that a white child had come to my door, 16 years old, looking for their siblings, they're at the wrong house. I open my door with a weapon, shoot them through the door, shattering the glass, and then shoot them again when they're on the ground. Just imagine, do you think I would be here on social media talking with you right now? You see, I can't imagine a situation in which I would be afforded those same opportunities. That is putting yourself, go ahead. Empathy is like not just asking the question, it is playing out the scenario. Then imagine you were Ralph, shot twice. You run to one door, the people do not open the door to help you. You run to another door, the people do not open the door to help you. You run to another door, and somebody finally calls 911. Now, here's what I believe to be true, just based on the themes of how we get down in this country. If it were me, let me put myself into the shoes of the shooter. You see, I can't imagine a situation in which I would not have been arrested and charged. Maybe I wouldn't be in jail because my friend is a criminal defense attorney. I got the privilege to be able to get somebody to get me a bail amount set, and maybe I could figure out how to pay it and I'd be sitting at home. But you can guarantee that arrest and charge would be in the narrative for me. You see, that's empathy. See, I'm not asking you to be kind or nice. I am asking you to put yourself in the shoes of everybody. I will put myself in the shoes of the prosecutor. You see, I mean, it's easy for me to be able to do. It's easy for me to be able to do. You know why? Because I've been a part of the Northland Chamber for the last year. I have had an opportunity to listen to prosecutors from Clay County, Platte County, in North Kansas City, and Gladstone, and Platte City. I've had a chance to listen to all of them share without the guise of the media what they believe keeps us safe, what they think are the ways that we address mental health issues. What do they believe are the primary concerns for the citizens of the Northland? Do you know what I heard time and time again? More policing. That makes no sense to me. But you know what empathy is? Empathy is recognizing that no matter what makes sense to you, when somebody else does something, it makes total sense to them. So, do I expect Mr. Thompson to be fair and equitable when a Black child has been shot by an older white man? Absolutely not. You see, if you understand him, you understand that people have to take to the streets. I hope the protests continue every day. You know why? Because what you need is though the man sitting in the chair concerned about his grass, you need him calling the prosecutor. You need him calling somebody, say, listen, I don't want all this on my name. Because let's be clear, they don't care about Ralph Yarl. Empathy helps you to understand that better, actually. When you, it was hard to notice whose house the shooting had occurred at. You know why? Because the front door has already been replaced. It is reported that a neighbor went and vacuumed up the glass. Now, I was raised near 45th and Troost in 64110, one of the city's most notoriously dangerous zip codes. And let me tell you what, if a neighbor has shot someone anywhere and I went over and vacuumed up anything, you know what that would be called? You know what that would be called? Destroying evidence. Destroying evidence. That's what that would be called. It's called destroying evidence because that's what it is. The door has been replaced. There are zero remnants anywhere that show that this child he tried to murder him. So all right, let's do one more. Let's try to be empathetic with the person who comes to the door with the gun. All right. So let's say I live in a neighborhood for which I'm concerned about crime. Just so you know, this is not one of those neighborhoods. But let's say it is. I've lived in one of those. Somebody rings your doorbell. You go to the door with a weapon. Okay. Try to think about this. What must the other person on the other side of the door do for you to actually shoot them through the door? Hmm? What must they do? I bet you there listen, this is a 16-year-old boy who's plays in the symphony. I know use all your biases. He ain't got no weapon. So what could a 16-year-old boy do on the other side of a door? You behind a locked storm door. It's glass, solid glass. It's not a screen door. What could they possibly do that causes you to go, you know what? I'm gonna just I'm gonna just go and shoot. Okay, I'm trying to get into the mind of you. What then causes you to then shoot again when the child is on the ground outside the door? You see, once you think about all these things, empathetically speaking, he need to go to jail. He needs to go to jail. So I ran through some scenarios, and in those scenarios, I was like, well, maybe there's something wrong with him. Maybe he's got a mental condition. All right. Well, why then in the state of Missouri, if he has a mental condition, does he have a weapon? Because here in Missouri, while we think that female senators need to cover their arms, we don't believe that people should have to have background checks or check-in checks to make sure that they should have weapons. And so, you know what? Because y'all think that everybody should have guns, empathetically speaking, this man should have been charged and should be in jail. And if you understand these prosecutors in the Northland, you will understand why they did not do anything besides say, this is a mistake and let this man go home. And empathy is not kindness. One of the, I write about this in this book, and many times what people do is they say, well, how do you hold people accountable if you're being empathetic? You hold people accountable because you are empathetic. We cannot live in a society based on a foundation of empathy where you let things like this go by without addressing it. We need to email the prosecutor for Clay County, and his name is Zachary Thompson. And we need to ensure that Zachary Thompson files charges today. It is amazing that Ralph Yarl is still alive. And it is my hope, I would imagine, that if it were me and a bleeding child came to my door and I did not open that door, that I would be suffering with the pain of my lack of humanity forever. And it is my hope that the people who walk by the first house, that you are suffering with that today. Why? Because people will say to me, Nicole, we don't want to shame anybody. I am the queen of no shame, but guilt is a very real and amazing way to get people to do something different. You should feel guilty. You should feel very guilty for not helping that baby. And today, when you learn that he plays in the orchestra, maybe you feel even more convicted. But here's my request to all of us. Do you need to play in the orchestra to not be shot by going to the wrong house? Listen, do you know anybody who does DoorDash or Uber Eats? Do you know anyone who works for the UPS or FedEx who might go to the wrong house? And are we expecting that they be shot? Not once, but twice? That is empathy. Empathy is the thing that keeps us from saying this is okay. Empathy is the thing that makes us push the prosecutor to file a charge. Somebody give me the email address so that we can get it on the screen. Zachary Thompson needs to file charges now. The man wasn't even at home. I don't know where he was. I don't know where he was. But this is just awful. And it is not okay. What happened to you that you go to your door with a gun? And what I hope is not missed on you is that while I am walking towards the home where the protest is occurring, that a man screams out of his car, Trump 2024. You know what empathy helps me to understand? That he has taken the shooting of a white black boy by an older white man as an edict from Donald John Trump to say, you remember when we used to run him out of here? You can vote for him if you want to. I'm telling you, I am telling you, that is how we got here. That's why we got here. You can have a different point of view as it relates from a political standpoint all you want. But I will not forget that there were 16 other conservative Republican options. 16 conservative Republican other options. And we decided that collectively, millions of us were going to vote for the one who had the most racist ideas. That could have been my baby. That could have been your baby. That could have been you. And if I don't ever want you to think when I'm saying empathy that I mean somehow that you are letting these kinds of things go. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Put yourselves in the shoes of a person who would stand at a door and shoot through it at a 16-year-old unarmed black boy, and you understand empathetically what needs to happen here. He should be in jail. He should be in jail. And the person who went over there and destroyed evidence, they need to at least think they're going to get charged, because you need to understand that that is not acceptable behavior in a free society. Y'all email Zachary Thompson. And I'm telling you what God knows. I sat in a room listening to these people talk about what they think is important in the city of Kansas City, in the Northland, in Clay County and Platte County. And I'm telling you, I understand very clearly. Empathy helps me understand very clearly where they are. They do not see Black skin as something to be protected and served at all, in any way. And I hope that you act accordingly. Email, call, share, demand. If you can't do anything else, think about this baby's mama and post what has happened. Just reshare what has happened. And while I don't think that there's anything about the fact that he's got letters from the governor and from the state house to congratulate him on being such an amazing student, that should not have to be in order for us to care about this. It is, and it's the catalyst for why we care about this. So act like you care. I talk about psychic numbing. There were other shootings that happened yesterday. If you know something, say something, do something. People must be held accountable when they take a life. We cannot live in a society where where we let these things be acceptable. And I think the jails are too full. We got too many people in jail. But if there's ever a reason for which jail is necessary, it's when you do not have the emotional regulation to not use a weapon to try to take the life of another person. Please share wherever you can, however you can. Email Zachary Thompson today. It takes a few seconds to just say, this man must be charged. This man must be charged. This man must be charged. Y'all, it's Monday. I don't know how we move the ball unless we start to think about how we register to vote in the state of Missouri and unseat prosecutors, judges who do not fairly and justly Handle these situations. And when you see the unjustness and the unfairness that you see that it's happening along the racial lines, this is my request. This is my request to you. Try to enjoy your week. Try to enjoy your week.